Gail Ball. Co-starring Gail Gordon.
Now, Mrs. Winkler, I'm not the type of man to high-pressure anyone into making a hasty decision, but I'm sure you'd be more than satisfied if you give our bank a chance to handle your late husband's estate.
Well, I appreciate your interest, Mr. Mooney, but I think I'd like a little longer to think it over.
Of course.
And now I must be getting back to Pasadena.
And remember, Mrs. Winkler, our bank offers more than just business relationships. With us, you would be treated as a friend and a member of the family.
Well, I must say, Mr. Mooney, I like the way you make a person feel so sheltered and protected.
Well, that's our policy, you see.
Mr. Mooney.
Yes? Mrs. Winkler, are you all right?
Yes, I'm all right.
Oh, I apologize for my secretary.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. Please forgive me. Oh, my heart is still pounding the way you sailed across that desk.
Forget it. I rather enjoy a little action once in a while. I'm so tired of having Boy Scouts always trying to take me across the street. Good day, Mr. Mooney.
Oh, good day, Mrs. Winkler. Oh, it's so nice of you to take it that way, really. Thank you so much. Mrs. Carmichael, do you realize Mrs. Winkler is a very important potential client?
Well, yes, Mr. Mooney. I said it was an accident. I just turned like...
What are you doing with all that junk anyway? Did you come here to work or to try out for the Olympics?
No, sir. The girls here at the office loaned me all this stuff to take to Lake Arrowhead tomorrow.
Oh, yes, I almost forgot. Tomorrow is my vacation.
You mean my vacation?
When you're not here, it's my vacation.
Who's winning? Well, I was just getting a little practice.
The personnel office sent me over to see Mr. Mooney's secretary.
Oh, well, that's me. I'm Lucy Carmichael.
Hi, I'm Audrey Fields. I'm going to be replacing you on your vacation.
Oh, fine. Well, Mr. Mooney just stepped out, and I'll be glad to introduce you to him when he comes back. Won't you just sit down?
Well, maybe while we're waiting, you'd show me around and tell me what my duties are.
Oh, well, it's just the usual secretarial work, you know, answering the phone and typing letters and filing and things like that. And if I can do it, anybody can.
Now, tell me about Mr. Mooney. Just what kind of a boss is your employer?
Well, let me put it this way. He's more boss than employer. He yells a lot.
Uh-oh, one of those, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that a man like that can be handled with tact and diplomacy.
Oh, well, that's just the way I handle Mr. Mooney. I have found that the best tact and diplomacy is just yell right back at him.
Mrs. Carmichael!
What do you want?
Well, I'll tell you what I want. You're supposed to put addresses on letters before you take them to the mail room.
Yes, sir. I'll be glad to help.
Who's this?
Oh, that's Miss Audrey Fields. She's going to replace me during my vacation.
Oh, how do you do?
How do you do, Mr. Mooney?
Please, sit down.
Thank you.
Well, tell me, Miss Fields, have you had much experience in this sort of work?
Oh, yes, sir. My last position was as private secretary to the president of the North Atlantic Trust Company.
Oh, private secretary to the president. Well.
Yes.
You must have been with the company for quite some time.
No, not really. Actually, when I started, the situation was rather similar to this one. I replaced a girl who went on her vacation, and Mr. Grant was so pleased with my work that he kept me on. And by the time she got back, I had assumed so many of her responsibilities that they made her my secretary.
interesting.
Yes, very.
Well, now it will be a pleasure having someone with your experience around here to help us.
You know, Mr. Mooney, you remind me somewhat of Mr. Grant.
Oh, I do?
Uh-huh. Of course, he's a bit older.
How old is he?
At least 40.
Oh.
You know, Mr. Mooney, now that I see how young and attractive you really are, I'm really sort of surprised that this office is furnished so, conservatively.
Conservatively?
Oh, yes, Mr. Mooney. Now, for instance, these drapes. They're really terribly ordinary. Today, people are going in for fun patterns and lamps with a message.
Lamps with a message?
And now, let me see. The rug looks like it's in good shape. Maybe shampooing it would bring it back to life.
It is a little dead, isn't it?
And I think that we should move my desk just a little closer to yours. And then we'd still have plenty of room here in the middle for a nice informal arrangement, something cozy and warm, huh?
How about a love seat with an incense burner?
Hardly.
Well, I like your suggestions very much, Miss Fields, very much indeed. Mrs. Carmichael?
Yes, sir.
Before you go to lunch, will you get in touch with an interior decorator?
Yes, sir.
Make sure we get someone very avant-garde and modern.
Oui, madame.
And get someone up here to shampoo this rug and bring it back to life.
Yes, sir. There's nothing worse than a dead rug.
Oh, and if anyone calls, I'll be out to lunch.
Yes, sir.
Now, there's one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Are you interested in lunch, Miss Fields?
With you? Yes. Thank you.
Oh, dear.
Now, come on, Lucy. Stop worrying. Wait till you see these kooky outfits I borrowed for you from the studio. All very high fashion. And look, honey, this is the wig Audrey Hepburn wore in the picture we saw. You know, some nights you can be a brunette just for kicks.